everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm the BMD, and you are listening and watching our telecast for Rogers Television Channel 10. Today, we have an interesting guest on. We're going to get a gentleman. He's here. We're going to have a gentleman tell us about the music industry from perhaps, I'm hoping, a retail sales. He is Will McGuirk. I hope I said that right. And he's the manager of Kops Records. So welcome to the show, Will. Thanks for taking the time out of your day on helping us out and introducing the community to who you are. So tell us a little bit about your background. Let's get started.
Hello. Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me on your show. It's fabulous. Thank you. What do I do? I manage Kops Records, which is located down at 34 King Street East in downtown Oshawa, in the music district, which is fabulous. We've been there since May. Before that, people may know the shop was located on Simcoe Street, just south of John. And so I manage. Essentially, I'm the only sort of like full-time employee that's there, and then we have a couple of like a young kid that comes in and a couple of older gents that come in and help out. When you come into the shop, more than likely you will see me.
So is it a taste of new records, CDs, DVDs, albums, used? Tell us a little bit about the store.
So the store is a vinyl record shop. So we have new pressings. So if you want your Taylor Swift or your Olivia Rodriguez or your Nirvana or any of that sort of stuff, we have that. We also have like used records, quite a large selection of used records. There are some cassettes and some DVDs and some CDs, but we don't specialize them. They usually just come in when we buy a collection. People will just kind of like, it'll be part of the collection that we buy. But we don't buy DVDs or CDs or cassettes. They're somewhat of a dead media the way vinyl used to be, but we do buy vinyl records. And then the context of the shop itself is that it's owned by the Koppel family, who live in Toronto. There's two stores in Toronto, okay. Kops Records on Danford and Kops Records on Queen. And the head of the family is a guy called Martin Koppel, who has been buying and selling records, predominantly 45s, since I think like the early 60s or something like that. So he's fairly much like a bit of a legend in and of himself. So interesting to have to work for.
So tell us a little bit about your background. We did jump into the business side, but who is Will McGuirk? Obviously, McGuirk has to have a bit of Scottish flow in it with the Mac. I am from Scottish heritage extensive myself. So tell us a little bit about how you arrived here today, not how you arrived with us, but how did we get to meet, and what are we doing talking to you today? How did you get before us?
First and foremost, I mean, there is a lot of similarities between the Scots and Irish, where I'm on the Irish side of the Mac, which is fine. So, I came, so I grew up in Dublin, and essentially I'm before you because I know Lucas. So I came from Dublin '84 and came straight to Oshawa. My whole family came here. Not much going on in Ireland at the time. So we emigrated over here, and we had relatives who lived here. So we came to Oshawa. And I had been working in magazines, newsprint in Dublin. So when I came here, I started working for Torstar, which at the time was like Metroland. So working as a graphic designer, pre-press, layout, compositor. The job I did had many terms over the years. We moved from cold print over into computers. So I worked there, transferred to the Toronto Star, and essentially worked for Torstar for 25 years.
Wow.
Until 2010. So I was doing that. But all that time, since about 1988, I had stumbled across probably maybe like 85 or so, the incredible music community that was here in Oshawa through a place called Star Records. Got to know a whole bunch of people in the music community, and ended up writing for Torstar, and probably 30 odd years, maybe a little bit longer than that, maybe 35. With a focus on Durham region music. So I've been sort of keeping tabs on this music community of ours on and off since about 1988.
So was your
So
passion for the music in the community, music industry, or did you have a love of vinyl?
my background is I have a love of music community. I have a love of music in and of itself. The format changes over the years. Obviously, I had vinyl back in the day. I still buy vinyl. I still collect vinyl. It's a fabulous job working in a record store. I mean, good God Almighty. My personal collection, what I've been buying over the years is music on vinyl, CDs, cassettes, whatever, mostly vinyl in the last couple of years from bands in Durham region. So if anybody asks me what I'm like particularly interested and passionate about, I would tell you that I'm not a big fan of chart music or music, or I don't know too much about Aerosmith or Pink Floyd, but I have spent an awful lot of time with our music community, so pretty good knowledge of and interest and passion and supporter and champion. And other people would probably say the same thing of the Durham region music scene.
So you jumped
So yeah,
into
that's my focus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You jumped into my next question about what is the status or the condition of the music in the Durham region right now? Is it busting out? Is there new trends? Are there, old tribute bands trying to resurface? Tell the listeners and viewers what's happening in the music scene in Durham region.
I would say like we're at both the end of something and the beginning of something. And the beginning of something, I think we're at the beginning of something that could be quite spectacular and quite interesting and quite noteworthy. There is a greater emphasis from the city and the region on supporting the music community. There's a real push to have a music strategy, a music plan, I believe, on the Durham regional side. The city, the Oshawa Chamber, Oshawa Tourism, all got together this year, and I was involved with it, to produce a magnificent event in downtown Oshawa called Convergence, where like 95% of the content was local. Like the bands were all from around Durham region, with the exception of maybe one or two. There was music, there was art, there was films, there were wrestling, there was punk rock, flea market. You know what I mean? And it was a real sense of the city enabling its own voice. So like these were just Oshawa kids, and it was a lot of like local downtown sort of like Oshawa Durham region kids that was there. And I don't have any the full figures for us in the shop because we're right on that strip. We had a really good day. So I think it benefited the businesses. And I would estimate there was probably about maybe 10,000 people came down.
Wow.
It was a free show at the Strumbellas. So that was pretty fabulous.
What did you think? What did you
played.
think of the jazz festival that was in late September?
So that was we're on the same side as the Regent. So I think that was the weekend before, right? The Thursday, Friday Maple Blues
Yes.
played that. I remember them because it came in. Gary Kendall had sent me his album so we have consignment in the shop for bands,
Yes.
for indie bands, and that was, again, man, I thought that was fabulous. It was in the tent in the side alley,
Yes.
right? So I had a chance to drop out of the shop occasionally and go and check on it, and it looked well attended. It looked was well presented.
Yes.
Massive big tent, so just in case it rained. So I think it was fairly well planned.
Yeah, we opened up for the Maple Blues Band. We brought them on.
Oh,
we
yeah?
brought them
Okay.
onto the stage, so we were part of their evening too. And the Regent looked very good, and the streets were packed when Lucas and I left the theater, and it looked very well organized. So that made me curious on the question about what is the status in the music community in the Durham region.
Well, I think that's the type of stuff. You know what I mean? So we've got you got that blues festival We got the Biltmore Theatre doing well. There's the Atria, there's the Tribute Community Centre. We have potentially another new venue opening up Bond Street, which is a 1,200 capacity and a 300 capacity in the same building. So 2 rooms, 2 stages. So that's what I mean. Like, I think we're at the beginning of something, you know. Also, like 3 of the buzziest sort of bands around at the moment, Crown Lands, who are on tour with Kiss, Daniel Cesar, who is doing like an international, you know, massive venue tour at the moment, and Dizzy, who have just released an album, are doing a North American tour, are all bands who are from Oshawa. You know, so I mean, that's as well as there's a whole bunch of other sort of high profile bands from the area who are somewhat well known. So I think all of that, and a lot of that true, because of the way Oshawa has the venues, even though there's a lot of like music in other places. Uxbridge has got a great scene. You know, Whitby's got a good, consistent sort of bands coming through Whitby. But a lot of them, just because the infrastructure is in Oshawa, they come and play the venues down in Oshawa. You know, so you get to see an awful lot of those bands. So those bands have an affinity for Oshawa as well, which is great, or Durham region, whichever. So I think that there's a lot of like really there's a push, and also as you've seen from attendance, that you know for the blues festival, there's a hunger for people. They want to come out and see live music. So there's real economic opportunities around the music scene right now.
You're listening to Meet the Band with me, the BMD. Stay tuned. You know, fall is here, and what a better time to freshen up your complexion from the summer's sun damage. Make those wrinkles and scars go away. See the best results in as little as just one treatment with the triple collagen boost that Potenza RF microneedling has to offer. This treatment regenerates healthy collagen, leaving the skin feeling softer and smoother all within an hour. We treat any skin type, any part of the body, any time of the year. Book now for your consultation today at Elite MD Aesthetics. You're back on Meet the Band with the BMD. Folks, you're listening to our show, Meet the Band, on Rogers Television Network. I'm the BMD, your host, and our guest today is Will McGuirk. He says only Irish, but I know there's some Scottish in there. Listen, Will,
Could be, man.
Thanks for your info so far and great answers. What about your hobbies and interests? Obviously, I hear a big music vocabulary, and you seem to be able to talk the talk and walk the walk. But what about Will? Will, what are your hobbies and interests?
Well, essentially, when I come home from a record shop, I'll come home and I'll listen to music. And I have a website, SlowCity.ca, that I have been writing for publishing 12 years. It's mine. So I'll come home, I'll listen to music, and I'll write about music until the wee hours. But the one thing, if I'm going to say anything that kind of like I step aside, is that I'm also like a gardener. So a massive gardener, love gardening. And a lot of what I feel about community building, I've kind of learned from my own garden. And essentially it comes down to is work with what you already have. Like my garden is lovely and people comment on it. And, you know, it's all local plants. It's just plants that would grow here anyway.
So is it fair enough to say that you grow anything you're into?
I will provide options for growth of anything that I'm into. The idea of planting something and maintaining it and going through all that effort to try and keep something going, to me, it doesn't worth it. I mean, there's enough beauty in local stuff. I have a sumac that would just grow here anyway. It's just as beautiful to me as a peony or something, or an orchid. A hedgerow full of black-eyed Susans, Rudbeckia. That's, to me, that, I drive by the ditches and I'm like, oh my God, that looks stunning. And then I take that and I put it in my own garden. So that's the type of stuff that I already have sort of grown. And that idea of working with what you already have forms the basis of my community engagement. So I work with what we already have. Like, we have amazing local musicians and artists right here. So, and this is why I was so happy about the Convergence Festival, is that essentially that was the idea of, like, it's, weird metaphor, but like a garden of stuff that was already here, and we leaned into it, and we put like all of it was like just native local sort of content, and people came out for it and seeing the beauty in it and the enjoyment in it. We didn't have to go and spend $50,000 on getting some big name, like maybe I don't know, like Nickelback or somebody to come in, because then that just makes you the same as every other festival around Southern Ontario. So why would you come to Oshawa to see Nickelback, right? But when you put Oshawa in front of Oshawa, you can only come to Oshawa to get that. So to me, that's so, yeah, if I need to take a break from any of this sort of stuff, I go and sit in my garden, I potter around and I trim and I, move things around, and I'd make space for stuff to just sort of like grow.
So
and develop,
I really get the feeling that you are a voice of the community. And reading your bio, I wanted you to explain, what is a community animator?
No, I was called that one time by David Tooley, who was the Downtown Economic Development Officer some years back. Well, animation just means like bringing life to something, So a community animator is somebody who can take a space and put life inside it, So essentially, that's kind of what I have been doing. And then, it sounds like a big complex world, but really it's just like you get a bar and you start booking bands, and you sort of like you start building a community around the venue itself. That's the community animation side of it, where instead of just being a promoter who brings a band into a bar and then leaves and then brings another band into a bar and then leaves and then brings another band into a bar, is you figure out what you've got around there that you can just kind of enable and maintain. So one of the things that I was doing was in a place called The Hub some years ago, and we were bringing in bands from outside, but we also started up an open mic to get like the local kids somewhere to be able to stay. But to enable those kids, it was a case of, we built a house band. Like, you don't normally have a house band too often, but we introduced the idea of a house band, 3 young kids. And I said, okay, I'm going to book you every week, right? Every week you're going to play a Sunday, and I want you to wear suits as well. None of this, shabby checkered thing. Wear suits. I want you in here every Sunday. And then I would go out and then I would talk to the kids up at Durham College, and I would say that this band is playing, but will you want to come in and do something with the music business management program and see whether we can get some sort of interns or give them some sort of option to come inside. Ask local photographers, do you want to come in and take photographs of the bands on stage? You know what I mean? So, and then you introduce people to people, and then you try and build up projects. So some of the other projects that I've sort of enabled is we had an art gallery called The Vault. There was a magazine that's still going called Wonderlit Magazine, which is for visual artists and writers and poets. So we started that up. And even in the record shop, I've got no problem when I see somebody coming in talking about one particular record. I'll say to them, that guy over there is in a band and that's his favorite band. And you introduce people to people. And essentially that's what community animation is.
Do you mind if we officially label you, as of today, as Mr. Music?
You can do that if you want. I would rather, you could say Mr. Oshawa Music, because that's more of what my focus is. I don't spend an awful lot of time listening to other music, to be honest with you. I still like listening to local bands. I still get excited by local bands. I still like listening and hearing new stuff from, people who become friends or people who may become friends. And to me, and they're available and they're accessible, and I can go see them as well. I mean, Neil Young's birthday was yesterday. I'd love to go. I've never seen Neil Young live. It'd be fabulous to see Neil Young. But at the same time, I've seen Patrick Doherty, and got to see Patrick Doherty the other day over at the Biltmore, and to me, he's just as good. He's great.
Tell us, give us the listeners and viewers your typical 9 to 5 day. Now, maybe it's longer or shorter, but cliche, I'm saying 9 to 5. Tell us your 9 to 5 day.
My 9 to 5 day, well, it starts at 11, first and foremost, at the shop. I get up about 9. So go downtown, park my car, open up the shop, turn on some music, open the front door. People come in and work in the shop. There's working in the shop is not just the retail side of stuff. It's not standing beside a counter. There's records to be cleaned. There's inventory to be sorted out. There's the store itself has to be kept tidy. So we've got all of that sort of stuff. And then there's people coming in and out all the time. So at all of those sorts of interjunctions, you're talking about music, you're talking about new records, you're promoting new records, you're playing new records. And also you're just playing some old stuff. Musicians come in that I know will come in just to hang out and have a chat. Even, people from the chamber and tourism and the city will drop by. You have a lot of friends in different sort of communities who come by. So there's always a little bit of sort of like chatter going on in the shop as well, and to me, that's the community side of it that I like. Obviously working in a record store, playing music all day, 100%.
So would you consider yourself a music junkie?
Yeah, I don't think I could live without it, man. So yeah. I don't think it's very much, because again, then when I come home, I'll have dinner, and then in the evening, my wife and I she's a teacher, so she goes to bed a little bit earlier than I do. So we sit and chat and hang out, watch a little bit of TV. When she goes to bed, then I'll turn on the music. I'll go through my emails. I'll listen to new stuff. I'll publish on SlowCity. I'll write a couple of posts. And that's when I'm home. This weekend, I went to see a Connelly Crush on Saturday, Killer Dwarfs on Friday, which was amazing. And then the night before, on the Thursday, was DFA 1979. So 3 nights I was out, So, there's also that side of it. Like, you got to go out and maintain your beat. Gotcha. I'm still a journalist. So I still like to know what's going on.
In the music industry, if you had your way, what would you change?
Yeah.
Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
Yeah. I would still go back to that idea that all music is local. All music starts somewhere. Taylor Swift, massive, right? I'm a big fan of Taylor Swift, actually. I think she's great. But she also started somewhere, and I think that there's so much emphasis, even in Oshawa, there's so much emphasis on working with the big stars, of hanging out with the big stars, getting in on that glamour, buying music by big stars, we've completely lost touch with where the music begins. And the music begins with somebody in their bedroom, in their basement, with friends, with neighbors, working away at their craft, so the industry kicks in when somebody's done all that work already.
We've got about 2 minutes to go. Didn't want to cut you there, but I've got some more questions.
That's okay, bud. That was a
well,
quick.
Look at it's only a light show. You got so much info. We got to feed. Yeah. We got to feed the need. So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Probably in some bigger garden, to be honest with you.
Are you getting ready to retire or
join my status as a legend? What? No, man. I mean, how can you retire? Would you retire? Do you retire from what you're doing? No. Like, what we do is just. But
I got to ask.
You're always
going
to do it, Yeah. No, I don't think I retire from it because it's not work for me. It's not a job. It's like you say, it's like music's just part of it. I'll always be involved in the music community and big champion of Oshawa music because it's it's world class, man. We've proved it's world class. There's kids from here who are playing really big venues. Lennon Stella and Daniel Cesar. Like there's Megan Patrick.
We've got about a minute to go, so I
yeah.
want to get that in. If people want to connect with you, tell us your social media, how they can get to you, and further the discussion.
You can Google my name. Yeah. You can Google my name, but I'm in the shop, Tuesday through Saturday. Come down to the shop, 34 King Street East. Come in and chat, and we can talk about records. We can talk about music. We can talk about the local music scene. And if you want to sell some records to me, you can. And if you want to buy some records from me, you can. But essentially, just come see me in the shop. Am I on Facebook? Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram and X. And of course, I have SlowCity.ca, my own website. And there's a lot of other stuff that's going on too that I have.
Well, listen, it's been a great time. We're gonna have to do it again because I know you're just full of more information, and I want to hear it. I really want to hear it. So
there's
round 2 will be coming up soon.
Yeah,
get ready for that again, folks. You've been listening to and watching Rogers Television Network TV. Meet the Band. And I'm your host, the BMD, and it's been great having Will McGuirk on. What a mountain of information. And, well, if we're happy, you know what we do. Tell a friend. See you next time.
Excellent. Thank you. All right.
Hey folks, the BMD here on my show, Meet the Band. If you or your group would like to be a guest on the show, email us at thebmdpodcast@gmail.com. See you then.